Welcome, everybody. Trying to reset my screen now that it crashed. Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. Looks like we have Juanita, Michelle, Emily, Virginia, Lauren, Delilah, Vincent, Rebecca. It's a good turnout. Assume everybody can hear me at this point. Yes. All right, good. Well, welcome to class. The last week of this session for IT254 spreadsheet applications for everybody. I'm glad to see many of y'all have participated in this class throughout the time here, and the benefits I think will be significant for everybody who continues on and not only does well in this class, but then continue on into your business careers. You'll find this to be one of the more useful tools in doing everything business related. It's probably one of the most versatile tools in business usage is Excel, and the overall implications of what the spreadsheets generally can provide for data manipulation, right? So I did not get any questions from email this week. I did have a couple of people finally comment on the live chat for their extra credit that was actually really good, really in-depth live chats postings. I'm assuming that the way that the board is set up, that if somebody submits one in a live chat, they only see themselves and they don't get the other people cannot see or respond to those live chats. But nonetheless, it's good to know people were watching this and commenting on it. Like I said, this is the last week. We'll go a little bit of the functions, logic, formulas, statistics, some math functions. I'm going to bring up an amortization schedule too, to also walk a little bit through on some of how compound interest actually impacts home finances in that context. But overall, I'm kind of glad I've seen how well things have worked out. This is we are going into the last week. So a week from today is when final grades are due. So you have a week to get all your stuff in. Ideally, you want to get it in on Sunday because I will be grading it on Monday. Final grades will have to be submitted by, I think it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. But as of Monday, a week from today, I'm not to be accepting any additional grades at that point. So you'll want to spend this week to get caught up, get done. But with that in mind, I'm still willing to look at previously submitted assignments, even for those that should not be considered acceptable for grading, to do it. And if you want to work at it, you can figure it out. The point schedule, you could literally have done it in Excel, where I figured out how many points needed to. You could figure out how many points you need to achieve in Telepath, and that tells you just how much of the live chat some people can go back and in those extra 15 points of credit, so they could bump it up, because each one of those submitted is worth like 1.5% of your overall grade extra on top of. So it's possible to, if you're on the borderline of some grade passing, you could actually do a couple of submissions, get a couple extra points, and then figure out how much you need to do in order to break those barriers, right? So basically, this is how we're doing so far. So far throughout this class. Not as many A's and B's as I was kind of hoping to see, but roughly 50% of the class. I guess that's not uh, entirely bad, but at the same time, I would like to have seen better results throughout this. It is, like I said, the final week, so it's time to put in that effort to get Unit 5 up there. This is these grades include all of Unit 4 as of this morning. So, discussion 5 board is going to be basically what it is that you found most compelling, most interesting. What's your biggest takeaway or two takeaways from this class and what you learned about it, what you want to do. So, um, how you might use Excel in the future, what you found most interesting to talk about. Did you really like pivot tables? Did you really like bar charts, pie charts? This is an open-ended question, so feel free to answer it any way you want. Hope that all made sense. There will also be some discussions that's today's chat will relate to chapter 2 in the book and chapter 2 and 7 out of the secondary Excel formulas book. So the IntelliPath stuff is going to be about exponents, time and date functions, sum and products, mean and median, min, max, and ranges, rank, logic. Vast majority of which went over in the live chat number 4. I'll touch on some of those topics today as part of this chat, but yeah, so I incorporated much of what's in Unit 5 as part of live chat number 4 already. Any questions so far? Okay. So one of the things we can do inside of Excel is the ability to import CSVs, or we can move spreadsheets between workbooks. And assuming I'm going to try to bring up Excel here. So if you aren't seeing that because of whatever reason my preview screen is no longer working on Excel here for the moment. But assuming you can see that, you can, if you right click, you can say copy to, and you can pull down, say new workbook. You can say new whatever you like in that context. So you can copy things out. You can, if you had two of them open together, and I'm not sure how well this works. I'm trying to show it this way, but assuming this worked, I could quite literally drag and drop one tab from one workbook to another tab, and it should see it show up over here. Importing CSVs is done the same way. You open up CSV, you just drag the tab over to it, and it will drop it in, close out the CSV, and drop it into the main worksheet. So then there's also some things you need to do about advanced filtering. So if I were to like set up let's see if I can do this live. It's been forever since I've used this feature. No, that didn't do anything. Oh. So you can do advanced filtering such that you can like set it up so you have not just the basic filter, which is effectively shown by doing this kind of piece, but you could where you have this piece where you can go simple or color or text-based. Advanced filtering gives you the ability to do it at a secondary section, so you can get down to breakdowns of subcomponents. Now, as far as a math function is concerned, in this case, I've ranked these values in a random order, and if you use the ranking function, saying increasing or decreasing, you might remember this from last week's chat, where it will tell you which order that number here actually shows up on the list of all of the numbers from 1 to 9. Well, if I took a median of that set, the median is basically dropping off the extremes of any one given data set. So the median for this comes out to a 6, whereas an average, which includes all values divided by the number of values there are, comes out to 6.88. So median is useful for eliminating extremes inside of values of data when you're analyzing data. So one of the original questions that was asked by one of the people got wrong in there initially in Telepath was how to bring data into Excel, and you can do that via either text files that you can provide data and then separate, such as, say for instance, I wanted to say I had a whole bunch of random data. I actually did this as a dice auction on eBay this week, so you'll just see some strange text here for a second. But if I had a new worksheet inside of Excel, I could say copy paste that data as text, and because this is text, everything got dropped into individual cells of lines. But if I wanted to break it up into something more useful inside of Excel, I could say text to column, change my delimiter to be something that might be useful in here. In this case, I used colon. Do that, and it breaks it up so that now I have different pieces of the data now broken up by in this case I had one too many colons, so I had to go back and do some manual editing, but you can see I broke up what was original copy and paste as raw text into every one of these cells. And with that, I then changed it over with the text to column to something that actually made sense. So that you could figure out, based on data manipulation, you can organize your data in such a manner. And that's really one of the benefits of Excel is the organizational data, because you can manipulate and organize data in such a way that you can extract information out of that. So functions are usually starts with a word, starts with a letter or character of equals, and it gives a name. In this case, upper, that's a function that makes everything in that cell to be all uppercase. Sum is a function, but if you just wanted to use a straight formula, you can use equal cell plus cell or cell times cell and do as a straight mathematical as a mathematical formula in that context, as opposed to using a function to do in this case. So these are actually equal. One is written as a formula, the other one's written as a function. But you know, but you can manipulate data any way you want to inside of Excel. So you just have to be able to understand how to reference it. There are lots of functions inside of Excel when it comes to math capabilities. Subtotal, sum if, s. Sum if basically returns the number of cells, usually that's numerical or alphanumeric based on a criteria you're looking for. Some if S is those that only meets one or more specified material criteria within that range of cells. Some is the addition of all the different cells referenced. Aggregates one I've never really seen used in the field. Count A, those are pretty oftenly used. Count if is oftenly used. These are all your more typical pre-established functions within Excel. I pulled these tables out of the workbook a long time ago. But you can do things like, all right, if on this table range that I identified by the name of data, I can do a count if on how many cells within a table, three-dimensional table, that has the value of 12 in it, right? So you can get a count of, if I want to do it in, say, the context of here, in this case, I have, if I did this entire set here, looking for all instances of the number 2, it would come up and tell me basically that this one, and this one are my 3. Is basically it's going to tell me they'll have 3 instances, so I know where to go look to find those 3 different values inside of all those particular pieces, right? So that's how count if gets used in context, right? So I could also say, you could also embed formulas inside of formulas. So if you want to count, say, all the ones that are greater than a given value, so I could, for instance, say, that's a good example of that. I could do if, yeah, I can do greater than. Okay, let's go with greater than. So if I wanted to go for everything greater than 4, then that tells me that there's 16 numbers here in this conglomeration of numbers that are greater than 4. Now, if I wanted to do it, say, all right, so well, if I was doing inventory and I was worried about my shelf life on things, and say everything that was under 3, if this was like a list of products, everything that would have 6 instances of anything that I might need to have to reorder that day versus reordering tomorrow, that kind of thing. You can do that to track inventory. But anyways, that's the use of count if. There's lots of ways you can use count if as a function to return all kinds of different data. You can do it based on dates. You can do it based on text. You can do it based on values. True, false is an option. But yeah, I mean, this is the sum, the count if, the average, formulas, filtering. That's really what Excel is good at doing, is helping you to organize and manipulate data. So frequency would be a case of, you could have organize your data such that you could say the number of instances within given ranges of data. So did I put frequency in here? I did not put frequency in here. Okay. Well, you could use frequency to basically tell you ranges. So if you needed to base a range on your inventory of, you have 50 quantities, 50 to 100 quantity, 101 to 150 quantity, you could actually set up a table so that you could import your daily inventory overnight, and that'll tell you what your quantity is in there as your inputs. And then you could have conditional formatting to highlight those that are below a certain threshold to say you have to get somebody to go out there and either restock the shelf today or reorder from the inventory warehouse remotely to get it transferred to your site to it's time to restock the shelves. So hope that made all sense. This was the one that I set up, or I set up like this a long time ago. But basically, if you set this up, you took this range of data here, and I wanted to say I wanted bins of 50, 100, 150, or 50 or less, 51 to 100, 101 to 150, 151 to 200. You could get the number of counts in the range, break it up in your percentage. You can either build yourself a bar chart, pie chart, so you could get a feel for as things progress throughout the day or the total distribution. You can see how it actually would play out and impact your overall setup, right? So any questions so far on any of that? Okay, I guess not. All right. So other functions in there you can use to build out amortization schedules. So if you ever wanted to figure out how much interest money cost you, if you wanted to figure out how much you had to pay on interest on a home or how much interest you pay over the course of a period of several months on for buying a home, you can have is payment, number of payment periods, cumulative interest, cumulative principal. Those are all pieces that are functions that are built into Excel for helping you build amortization schedules. It is usually often easier just to go download an amortization schedule and fill it in. But so at least you understand how that works, right? These are embedded if statements and functions rounding up payment, number of payments per, and the rates. So people get some advanced into amortization schedules. But say if I wanted to set up a house, and today's house, saying the average house is say 450,000, because of the way interest rates have now worked, I wouldn't be surprised if your mortgage rate might be something along the lines of 8.96%, for instance, right? If you wanted to buy the average cost of a house today at that rate of 450,000, and you because of the concerns of how money works or how interest rates work, how we've been worried about things such as lately as the inflationary factors. We've been having the central Federal Reserve increasing the interest rates on everybody lately. Well, sometimes those are out of your control. Sometimes you can control based on how you've managed money in the past. But if you did that, and say you took a 30-year loan on average, your $450,000 house at an 8.9% interest rates really means that you are paying $848,000 in interest alone just to service the mortgage loan. It's a lot of wasted money. So whereas if you did it in half that time for that same rate and same mortgage rate, it would go from 848 to 369, which would be oh, of course they would set it up so I can edit this thing. 848 minus 369. The difference is almost $500,000 strictly on the interest of how much you would pay, when the difference in that would be your monthly payment of $45.50, and the difference is only $900 a month. You're paying an extra nearly $500,000 just to have a $900 a month cheaper or cheaper payment. And reality is, because of the way that works, if you dug into your first couple payments of this amount, your interest on that payment alone is um, at 3,600 is almost 3,400 in interest. So you're paying like 250 towards your principal. And with compound interest and amortization, your principal payment only increases slightly over the course of several years. And you're paying all your interest is front and top loaded or high loaded throughout that process. And in order to get to the point where you're breaking even on the interest versus amortization schedule, you are basically looking at payment number 268 or 269 to finally get to the point where you're paying more towards your principal than your interest, because of the way they set up amortization on compound interest. And that would be year 45. So you're talking almost 20 years into the term of that loan before you actually break even on that particular set of numbers. So if you did it on 15 years, it's still top loaded, but the interest versus principal actually grows much faster, because if you notice, the interest almost doesn't change from your starting point. That extra bit for those cheaper things, that extra $900 is what goes directly into the principal in order to reduce the overall bit long term. So then to get to the point where you start breaking even on that balancing act, you're basically looking at payment 9091, which would be about 7 years into it. So that's why it's usually better, if you can, to pull off like a 10-year loan, even though, because of a 10-year loan on a $450,000 mortgage, you're only paying $230,000 over all the course of the loan. And it's because that break even also happens about 2.5 years into it. So now the right thing to do from a personal finance loan is never let this payment here, this number here, be greater than 20% of your monthly income. So whatever size of home you need to find, as long as you keep that within 20%, even with the higher interest rates, that's where you can have a home that you become not house poor, but you're able to pay off quickly. So yeah, hope that all made sense. Give me the personal finance and amortization. But back to this point, all those numbers are all based on using these functions within Excel's formulas here. Payment type, and per, and then you get into the other different pieces. But you can get into these advanced little formulas here, is how they calculate dates, how they calculate payment schedules, interest rates. So I hope that all made sense. Decount's another function within Excel that you'll be using for answering telepath questions with. Decount is basically doing data counts within a range. So you can set certain criteria, come back and we'll say instances within, and you can help you figure out advanced formulas in this context, right? I have a video linked in here to a YouTube video you can watch on decount. I might actually play that here shortly. Another one you'll get into in there in Excel or asks you is the exponent. I tried to give you an idea what the exponent was last week in Excel itself. If you remember this page. So if you have your exponent, which is exp function tied to the number, you see how it grows almost logarithmically. That is by design of that function. But because of that, people kept assuming that 2 to the power of 8, they kept getting an answer of keep getting submitted an answer of 21.7, when in reality e to the power of 8 is 2980. And if you bring up in Windows, if you bring up a scientific calculator as opposed to the regular calculator, it's an option you can set inside of Windows. Bring up the scientific calculator, you can just enter e as a function, your exponent function, and that's what it'll tell you. So if you ever got into it, it's always written as a base number to the power of the exponent number. E is a special value inside of math, so that's why it works the way it does. But if you did 1/2 to the power of -4, which is written like that, also generally it is in a function within Excel, it's written as equal power parenthetical 1/2 or 1 divided by 2 comma -4 parenthetical. It's pretty close to how it's actually written, but it's not quite. The 1/2 is 1 divided by 2. Anyways, it comes out to because it's an even number of negatives, it's a positive number on coming out the back end. So even number of negatives that are exponents are always 2 negatives make a positive in that context. So it's an odd number would be negative, even numbers would be positive. And that's kind of how that works, right? So you can use the power function of a base and whatever to the power of. So it's base exponent. In this case, 5 to the power of 10. Written like that gets you an answer of 1 million. So mean and median is used to figure out how to make use of your sum products and to determine where your bell curve really lives from inside of mathematics, right? So because in the world of everyone says the world of averages, it's not really the world of averages. We live in a world of means. But the thing is that it's pretty much generally the center is where you'll find the biggest bang for your buck, and it's the extremes tend to degrade the value of the center. You can take that any way you want to. Just did that. There's another look at details into more uses of base and power, so you can put in base numbers and you can use the power to calculate all your answers that way. So if you ever wanted to impress your math teacher someday, and this is how you can answer all your mathematical questions within using Excel or your trig and math capabilities. Compound interest, this is the formula that's actually used for calculating amortization schedules. It looks like this. It's just far simpler to find somewhere you can download an amortization schedule and just fill in the numbers, because trying to create that from scratch is a fairly painful process. But that's the actual formula used right here to figure out your amortization is your size of your payment times the number of times plus its compounded interest and the number of instances over time for payments to continuously compound to get to what your expected interest would be. I showed you an amortization schedule, which lets you to figure out your home values. But really, that's also how people make money in the market. They invest in mutual funds, and the rate at the mutual fund goes up and down every day is your daily compound interest there. And as you let system that let your uh, mutual funds then ride over time, and by being a mutual fund, it is basically lots of people putting in money into a group of categories of fund of stocks that everybody feeds a bit of money towards, and a mutual fund being it's usually funded by a group of people to help across a bunch of different stocks in order to mitigate risks. But with that, as the market goes up, that compound interest is then basically is how it grows, and it buys into additional funds. So that's really how over time, over 10, 20 years of investing, people actually make money is the compounding that auto purchases additional um, stocks within the stock market within mutual funds, so that as the mutual fund grows, it grows over time by additional acquisition, and then you get to share all that by the by your investment inside of that mutual fund. So it compounding in that case works positively in that manner. So probably hope that made sense. Probably didn't. So like I said, there's difference between average and median, and you can figure out those different values by playing with them. Mean, yeah, okay, so yeah, that doesn't actually show any difference. Decount is when you want to figure out, say, unit cost here. If you had a number of a unit item, quantity of that item, cost of that item, and you wanted to figure out the product, well, the quantity times cost gives you a value on how much it costs. But in that case, if you then needed to make an order and you did decount against it, in this case, the decount of 4, because you're looking for orders that are greater than 100. At orders greater than 100, and your quantity is more than 5, the decount returns there's 4 instances of that within the range of here. You had 4 items that would be of a sufficient enough quantity you would have to do a reorder on. Basically, that's how our decount matters, because it lets you break down by criteria of quantity as well as the capability. So I got into the rank stuff last week as well, but hope that all hope my last week's lesson on rank, median, logic all made sense. Nobody sent me any questions about any of that, so beyond that, I mean, this is the last class that we will be together as a group. Many of y'all as a cohort will take additional classes together, or you'll see your common names over time in your cohort. So I hope that what you take out of this class can be useful for your other classes you take. Remember, you can always download all these videos. After today's class, I will upload this session's worth of videos that I made into YouTube, so people can also reference them in the future if they wish. So at this point, I hope that I gave you guys the ability to expand your knowledge and understanding in general, especially when it comes to Excel or personal finance. What is my YouTube channel? All right, I will put my YouTube channel into. I embedded it originally inside of my class announcements, but that should take you to, I think that's it. Let me just verify that. Since I pasted in the chat. Yeah, that's I pasted in the chat, my YouTube channel. So it's been focused on this class so far because they haven't had me teaching since I went live with it and started recording in Zoom. They haven't had me teach in the other classes just yet. But I hope you enjoy this class. I hope you learn this class. I hope I learned from this class, and that you find this stuff useful for you in the future. Definitely give honest feedback on how I did. There's things I know I could have done better, and there's things I certainly did poorly on, and a few cases where you guys saw me actually fumble around trying to remember how to do things off the top of my head. I'm here for your entertainment with that in mind. But yeah, I mean, give honest feedback. What could I have done better? They do actually read that. You give this anonymous feedback through the survey at the end of every class. Those anonymous surveys actually get reviewed by somebody, and I have heard back from students on a number of occasions now at this point on things to get better, and I'm trying to get better. But I hope that in the end, at least what I'm partaking in knowledge and offering to you, you'll be able to make use of in the future, and you'll be able to continue to become better students and succeed in your goals, because ultimately you're here to be successful, and it's all about personal achievement, right? I mean, we all have to put in the effort to execution of how to pass with a degree and the effort needed to achieve that degree. Well, it's a personal accomplishment, right? It's not just it's there for you to achieve and grow as with time comes, right? So you can personal improvement to personal achievement. You can always have this in the back of your mind. Once you complete your degree, nobody can ever take it away from you. So, but at the same time, you want to make sure you do it in a manner that is efficient and effective. So I hope you learned from this class. Just for the sake of peace, I'm going to set it up here before we end this class. I'm going to actually share a video on I'm going to share a video on the decount, just so you can have a more active capability of how that's shown. It's going to be a Yugi or Yugi. A Yugi. Okay, so presumably you're able to see YouTube at this point. I need to share sound as well. There we go.
Hi friends! The dCount function in Microsoft Excel is used to count the cells that contain numbers in a column of records in a database that matches conditions that you specify. Do you want to know how you can use the dCount function in an Excel worksheet? Here are the steps to do so. Open the desired Excel worksheet. Select the cell where you want to get the function's result. Click on the Insert Function button. In the Search for a Function box, type dCount and then click on the Go button. Select dCount from the list and then click on the OK button. Click on the database box and then select the range of cells containing the database, which for example includes name of product, place, quantity, and price here. Click on the field box and then select the field range, which for demo purpose here is price. Click on the criteria box and then select the criteria range that contains the condition you specify, which for example here is USB. It is also showing the result here. Click on OK to get the result. That is the total number of cells that contain numerical data. If you type text instead of numeric in any of the cells, the result will change. See? That wasn't hard at all. Thanks for watching. For more details,
Yeah, so like I said, I hope you learned stuff. Beyond that, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you do well in the future, and keep working at it. And eventually, you'll achieve your goals and ultimately graduation. And I hope self-improvement that allows you to find the job that helps improve your own life, improve your family's life, and if you keep at it, you can find something that can generationally improve your entire family tree. So, um, good luck with that, and I wish you all the best of luck. And thank you for participating in the 20 2205B session of IT254. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.